Hi, this is Lynn Schnebley with Educating with Wisdom, and I am the ambassador for Heaven's creating and protecting goddesses and archangels over life. Dear Heavenly Father, Mother, I pray that you help me to say things in a most expeditious fashion through Jesus. I'm trying not to say amen. Wrong God. That's why everything's supposed to go through Jesus. Okay, so I've already established in previous videos that I'm working as the Habayet, which is what the Jews are really looking for, that Magdala. But let me talk about what we're going to do right this minute. I'm getting things ready for the ambassadors for the school district. I only have four more tapings to do, at most, 4 more tapings, because I really have to nail that linguistics. Secondly, I am asking for assistance with the Russians or the Chinese, as well as being able to segue over to then the Danish and the Germans, because I have been advocating for the Union of North America since 2001, and actually in the school since 1998. St. Paul came to me in 1996 and saved me from a horrific situation. I had no idea what course of events were going to happen in my life. And I'll get into more about myself briefly, but I see all of a sudden you're going to see I have all these crazy things going up online. And I'm going to hold that off because I finally found what the reference is they're making, and it is for the Union of North America. So I'm going to wait on this. I'm letting people know that the LGBTQ, I'm almost certain, are the terrorists that went into the Christ Church. I think it looked like he was a woman. I'm looking at this shapely, a trans man. But we are looking at the reestablishment of the Noah laws, those 7, let's make sure I put the right fingers up, those 7 basic laws that were necessary in order for the world to be at greater peace. And there is no rainbow alliance with God unless those 7 laws are implemented. If we implement those 7 laws, this is even more than what the younger people think we should be getting. I mentioned that I was a manager at a natural foods cooperative. I did diapers. I built a passive solar house. I was active in the women's rights movement. I went to a women's college. I was active in homeopathy. You know, there's a whole slew of things which we're doing. But if we look at those, let's make sure we get this up here right, you can begin to open up. I had put out a 3-year moratorium in which no one would be charged so that they could open up their hands. I actually put that up on, there's sections of that up online regarding Epstein. And actually, as soon as I put certain things, tape them regarding Epstein, which I'm going to show everybody when I work with the embassy, as soon as I did that. And then I called the National Organization of Women here in West Palm Beach, and said, look, I really think that I need to get this information to AOC and to some of these other people. We have to make sure that we get it to them. Right after that, supposedly Epstein died. Now I'm going to take us out of here and show you some of the links that we have online and take you into a particular point. And then I'm going to cut another video later this evening, but I want to make sure that I get these older ones up because Mr. Trump is not the racist. This is coming from the LGBTQ. Now, I'd like to refresh people's memory that there's all this Phoenix and there's all this going on, and there's, you know, things of the Egyptians in our shadows. And, you know, it didn't make much sense to me when I was thinking about Edgar Cayce said 1958 was the last year that a new soul, or the year before that was the last year that a new soul would come into the world. And I know I've been here before. Okay, I know that. And I know that I'm from up there. And I know that. But what we're looking at is something very interesting, because both in the Jewish Old Testament, as well as people from India and other places, realize that there's this culmination of souls coming back into the earth. So when we see things like the drag queen people, and let me make something clear. In the book of John, when it says, "Why aren't you following? Why aren't the beloved is Miriam, Miriam Magdalene?" And the question is, why aren't you following? It really isn't a male, it's Miriam. And it's because she was expected to stay behind to learn what needed to happen in order to get you to this point. There have been at least 3 other destructions of a total creation of the earth. In approximately 6,500 years ago, there was another one, another great one in which we began to record it. I really thought that it happened at the end of Cancer, the last epoch at the end of Cancer, and it may well be. I'm sorry, I've got to turn this off. Okay, the actual Jews are looking for a female Messiah this time. This is what's cloaked in the text. And so what I have coming to me online is that they are willing to do the Union of North America and look after what needs to happen with Guatemala, Mexico, and that. My birthday is December the 12th, but I realized that God gave me a much bigger job, and we're also needing to look after what happens in China and what happens. I was willing, I made an offer in 2011 as a Canadian as well as an American to invite them to go up into Canada. And it was Barack Obama, the LBGT, and the Francophone. And quite possibly, yes, that blocked that. And it really was, because it landed on Barack Obama's desk. So there is a lot of things happening with the African Americans. There are a lot of things happening with the LGBT. And I'm just letting you know, I never thought Mr. Trump was a perfect person. But the problems that you're seeing with the massacres, this is not something that's being established by Mr. Trump. This is reactionary. This is also about me. And so I'm reaching out to the various embassies, and I'm going to ask that the Russians help me so that we can help support what's going on. I do not believe, and I'm not a fan of Netanyahu. I'm not a fan of what Israel has done, the quote-unquote Israel, because Israel later becomes Jesus. So, I mean, they're not even Israel, and they don't know these things. The average Jewish person doesn't even read their own text. The average Jewish person wouldn't go through and read. I mean, clergy doesn't even go through and read the parts of the Leningrad Codex. But it's there, and it's online. So I'm asking for the Russians to help. I'm asking, and believe it or not, you're looking at the Turkish and the Iranians because they are all part of the Hurrian Hittites as well as going into India. In order to help stabilize what needs to happen, people have to stop being able to get all my information offline, and I have to be able to go to a safe location so that we can properly out what's been happening. This needs to stop with the LGBTQ, whatever you want to call them. So if you think about these people coming back, nobody who's a new soul would ever think about, drag queen demon story hour. That's these are souls that didn't go to heaven. And what the Catholic Church doesn't tell you, which I already have online, is that they've actually been worshiping Horus and Orisis. I mean, that's what all those, I have this all online. That's what's scary. And it goes back to Saint Bernard. It goes back to the fact that when we talk about the Holy Roman Catholic Church, we're talking about a hodgepodge of gods that were put together under the Catholic Church, and Jesus just happened to have been one of them. But Jesus was the only one that mattered. Oh dear. And so they have not, and they tell you most souls are going to go to purgatory, which is basically Sheol. They have not prepared you. They have not told you what you needed to do in order to go to heaven. So again, we're going to go back and take a look at those 7 laws. And they're not the 7 deadly sins. I'm going to do a whole section on what the laws are. This is very different. And this is where the rabbis have to then step up to the bat, and we can begin to look after what needs to happen. And the kids who say they want to have green and they want to have environmental and they want to have this and they want to have that. Well, this is all there. It's all there for them. But they have to follow through and understand you do not deliberately make mistakes. You do not deliberately do things that you know are going to be costly. You do not deliberately when it talks about sexual immorality, it means one man, one woman, that kind of thing. It means no fornication. They're not kidding. It means that you don't mix certain genetics. When you say, okay, we don't want to have the meat. I was a vegetarian for years. I understand that. If you don't want to have the meat, let's take a look at those 7 laws, because most of our animals are artificially inseminated. And when you look at what's going on, it's people having kind of sex with animals. Well, the rabbis will then say, okay, if we're going to adhere to this, then we shouldn't be doing that. Well, that shuts down most of the large-scale animal production, as well as looking after things like Francis Slapp, who looked after, and for those of you that are so young that think you've just invented this thing, these things have been going on for a long time. That book is 40 years old, if not more. Okay, I read it. This is not new. You act like you've invented this. It's not. I mean, we've all been talking about this for a long time. But when you go back to those 7 sins, well, all of a sudden now we don't have anal sex. We don't have sex with children. We don't do this, we don't do that. We don't do this, we don't do that. You don't do sorcery. I've got all this new generation and some of you that think it's all about magic and dragons and this and that and that. I've got this whole group coming out about Egyptology. Excuse me, that Bennu bird and that whole thing about Egypt, they believe in chaos. They believe that the world is going to implode. The gods are all going to die. We are all going to go up into the chaotic oblivion. Well, I'm about the creating over life. And when we look up at the heavens now, this is not a chaotic mess. There's no chaos. No. Folks, so I've got news for this new generation that think that, oh, we're living in our shadows and we're going to do this and we're going to take you down because we're all going to go up then in our chaotic mess, or we're all going to be part of the super brain, or we're all going, oh, I don't know what you think you're going to do, but I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You're going to stay here on this earth until you get your lessons done. And I've already made this clear, which is when things began to change. The 2nd week of June, when I said, I'll send you as a toxic amoeba in a toxic swamp, and you'll have very rapid lives, but you're going to know what you're doing, why you're there. You're not going to get together in some great ooh ha ha, being evil and wicked and going up there. No. Sorry, you're not getting away with that one. You will stay on this earth until you get it done. And because that thing about all those miracles that I told you about, that I'm actually bigger than Moses, these people have already contacted me right away to say, oh dear, what is this about? So I have to hurry up and do another video so that we get this up online very quickly. But I need to put these up. So let me go out of me. Thank you. I'm sorry, I sound like I'm rambling. We're going to look at the mass shootings for Epstein and President Trump. He's not a racist. Mass shootings. Now, so we're going to take a look at the dates because this is important when I actually did this. The 10th. Is this the same thing? Let's see. This was the 10th. How many minutes do we have here with this? Because I should only put one up. 58. 58, so I'm only going to put one up. That's 22. And that one's 49. I think I already have that one up there. So I'm going to put those up there. And this, and I didn't put this up, but as soon as I put this out is when they started going with it. And then Venetian Modern is really dead. That's not him in the picture. I did this 1 week ago. This one up a long time ago is Jeffrey. This was interesting. Cannot be blamed for slavery if we were slaves ourselves. I got some really nasty comment. Well, they were LGBT. Jeffrey Epstein not dead. Probably not. Okay. And then I'm going to do that other section for you. Then I have to quickly go over what they're looking at for the Messiah. And I'm going to do a section on the seven great commandments, the Noah commandments. Now, when I talk about, when I talk about O-being, remember these people are really sick. The drag queen is sanitized. It's actually sitting in front of a little kid spreading his legs. Who is the real Madam X? There's the prophecy that happens that God is backing it up immediately. No tower fires for President Trump. I'm sorry about the singing. Meghan Markle and the family drama. Why weren't the counselors brought in? Why wasn't there mediation? Is Meghan Markle's baby Archie nodding to Archie? Right. So I have all these things here, but let's pay attention to this because I was hacked by the LGBTQ. And I've tried to get these things out to them, but I get held back by their occult. All right? Rise Omnivision. They all think they're rising up. These people are crazy. They're just absolutely, and you really. Now, no. Okay. Thank you. And I'm going to put these, try to get these other things up.